When should your students start applying for scholarships? I always laugh or I always joke that our junior families say, we've got plenty of time. And then our senior families say, oh my gosh, where did the time go? I'm freaking out. And I always joke, where is the school year between them where families think it's a good time to apply for scholarships? So in today's video, I want to break down the most popular months for applying and when we should be applying throughout the school year. I'm also going to give you 4 places that you can start looking for scholarships. So let's dive in. Now make sure you hit subscribe because every week we release a new strategy to help your family work towards a debt-free education. Hey there, my name is Jocelyn Pearson, founder of the Scholarship System, where we redefine paying for college to help families build strong financial futures rather than ones that are buried in decades of student loan debt. Now, scholarships, that is our bread and butter. In fact, we are nearing $13 million that our families have secured, which is incredible. So we know a lot about this topic. Just a quick note, this is for US citizens and permanent residents, not for international students. So parents are always shocked when I say that they can actually start applying with their student as young as 4 years old. Of course, that is the exception, not the rule. But I bring out that extreme example to show that it is really never too early to start this process. We have a blog post where we have a list of scholarships for students 14 and younger. I'll link to that in the description below. But it's safe to say a lot of students, a lot of families don't even think about scholarships until they get that bill. And honestly, by then, they've missed out on tons of potential money. And I mean thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, does that mean that it's too late? Absolutely not. It's never too late. In fact, I cashed my last check on the way home from college graduation. Yes, college graduation, not high school graduation. And so it's really never too late. But that said, the earlier we start, the less competitive it is. We can really figure out the process and we can increase our chances of winning. Now, I have a free training for you where I cover my 6 steps to securing scholarships, all covering how I got over $126,000. But I also show you how to identify legitimate scholarships so that you can start knocking out those applications with your students. So if you're interested, you can check out the link somewhere around here. It's thescholarshipsystem.com/free training. We'll also link to that in the description. You'll find all the important links down there. So let's talk about scholarship season. So in the scholarship system course, we break it down into 3 different seasons. We have fall, spring, and summer. So the fall we consider, just like a school year, August through December. And this really is the kickoff for scholarship season. This is the most overlooked season for applying for scholarships. A lot of students are so focused on admissions, they don't even think to apply during these months. And it's really unfortunate because not only are they missing out on tons of deadlines, but they're also missing out on deadlines that are naturally less competitive because no one applies during the fall, except our students. Now in August, you might find a few that will give money for that upcoming school year, but typically August will be the beginning of the money for the following school year. Now in our experience, some of the major deadline months are October and December in this period. Those are some massive deadline months for scholarships. And also I love using December, using holiday breaks or fall break or winter break as an opportunity to knock out a ton of applications, especially for students that are really busy and they just want to batch applications rather than doing them every single week. Those holiday breaks are really critical. Let's get into the spring season. So the spring season is January through May, and this is the high season. This is when a ton of deadlines are coming up. This is when everyone's focusing on it. This is when those bills are coming in from universities, and so students are freaking out, trying to figure out how to pay for them. And so this is really the intense time for scholarships. Also, the more competitive time. Honestly, deadlines seem to be pretty spread out throughout January to May, based on some stats that we have because we have a free app where families enter scholarships. We have seen some major deadline months in March and April, but in reality, there are tons of them: January, February, March, April, May. Now, again, this is why we want to start early, because maybe if we are starting in the summer of before our senior year, or even the fall semester of senior year, we can make sure that we already have our list of scholarships, we have the deadlines on our calendars, we have materials collected. And that way, during this busy season, when we have tons that are due around the same time, we can just submit. This is just one of the things we teach in the scholarship system course. all about creating a system, making our lives easier so that we can submit more submissions, and yet it doesn't feel like a lot more work. Now, just like I mentioned, winter break's a great time to apply. Spring break, of course, is a great time to apply as well. So if we can carve out a couple days, I know that we always like to take trips, but if we can carve out a couple days, that would be good too. Now let's talk about summer season. And I think summer season surprises a lot of families. They think that the ship has sailed by summer, but actually students can be applying for scholarships June and July as well, sometimes even into August, like I mentioned. Now, typically, we, through the scholarship system, we give out scholarships every single year. And typically, our deadline is in mid-July, and the money is for that August, that fall. So students that win the money, as soon as we choose the winners, we're sending it directly to their school because we want that money to get there. We are not the only scholarship committee that has a late deadline like that. So students actually should be applying still throughout summer. I will say it also seems like committees are figuring this out, and it seems like there's more and more later deadlines, which is amazing because a lot of students have a lot more time over the summer versus during the school year. Now, one point I want to really stress with this, for families with juniors, we absolutely want to be doing this summer before our senior year. Again, building that list, building the materials, trying to get deadlines. We don't want to miss that fall semester. And so if we start that summer before senior year, then we have a much higher chance of getting some scholarships submitted despite the admissions process taking over. Okay, now as promised, I also wanted to give you 4 places that your student can look. And the first one is to look locally. One of the things we talk about in the scholarship system are all the different organizations that provide scholarships: local civic organizations, credit unions, businesses, banks, chamber of commerce, the list goes on. But looking local, naturally, they are going to be less competitive because they're focused on that region. They will typically be smaller dollar, but that's okay because those are how I added up to $126,000 in scholarships. Those small ones can pay the bill just as well as the big ones. Secondly, are community foundations, and these are my favorite. The reason is a lot of times they have dozens of scholarships. However, they only require a student to submit one application and select which ones they would be eligible for. So this is a huge time saver. It's also local, so less competitive, and legitimate, of course, because it's a local community foundation. Now, these are typically specific to your county or your city, but if you're from a small area, you can actually look at big cities that are near you and maybe even reach out and see if you're eligible to apply. One example is the North Carolina Community Foundation. They actually serve a greater area with small affiliate foundations, so that's an example there. There's also the Golden Leaf Foundation for the Carolinas. There's the Charleston Community Foundation for South Carolina. There's so many in so many different states. We found them in Orlando. We found them all over. The third one is the scholarship system website. So we actually release an updated list throughout the year. If you go to the scholarshipsystem.com/scholarship list, that will take you to our latest released list. Right now, at the time of recording this, we have our new list of spring scholarships for students who want to apply over spring break, and then we'll update it for May and summer and fall and so on. And again, all these links will be in the description. And the last one is JLV College Counseling. It is not as easy as, say, FastWeb, where we can just enter and filter for ourselves, but that's okay because the list on here, it's high quality, it's a great list of scholarships. We will have to sift, but that extra little bit of work means it will be less competitive. Now, you can search by major, by deadline month, and more, so there are some filters in there, but I really recommend combing through this site for some scholarships. Lastly, I want to point out that I do have a video on 5 best scholarship websites for this upcoming year, and so you can find that somewhere here on the screen, and you can also find it linked in the description. Now, comment below, has your student started the scholarship process? If so, when did they begin? When did you guys start thinking about this? Was it junior year? Was it fall of senior year? I'm really curious to see when most of you guys have started your process. So that said, now you have a good idea of when the biggest deadline months are throughout the year and when we should be focusing on applying. Also, I gave you 4 different places that you can start looking, which actually really included dozens and dozens within those categories. And still, if you're overwhelmed, if you just want specific steps, then check out my free webinar, again, the Scholarship System's 6 Steps to Securing Scholarships, where I cover exactly how to build that scholarship list of legitimate ones. And so you can go to thescholarshipsystem.com/free training for that, or find the link in the description. And again, don't forget to hit subscribe because every week we have a new strategy for you to help you and your student avoid that student loan debt. All right, I'll see you in the next video.